Hey everyone, Pastor George here, and for today we are continuing our Bible study recap. And today in Bible study we looked at chapters 18 and 19 of the book of Job. And in these chapters we have, firstly, Job's second of his three friends, Bildad, responding to what we saw Job talk about last week. So if you want to see what that is, you can go back to check out last week's video. So that's our first chapter. In our second chapter we have Job's response to Bildad. Now, in these chapters, we have Bildad, who grows increasingly exasperated, and you have to remember that Bildad as a character or as a person, or what drives him, is this idea that God, because he's a pagan. We know this from like the way he talks. It's evident in today's verses where he brings up these figures of death that are clearly of some Near Eastern mythological origin. So he's not an Israelite, right? He's not a Hebrew. He's not using the same necessary arguments that a lot of other people are making, but he's still appealing to the wisdom tradition that is really popular in the area of the world that this is in, the Near East. And so one of the things that he's big on in this, obviously, is again hitting the idea that the wicked do not prosper, but he's exasperated at what Job is doing, right? Because he believes Job is challenging the very foundations of heaven itself, right? That there are people above to keep score and to set the record straight. That would be God or the gods, and then there are the people below who are meant to obey and not break the laws, right? And those are the people. And so Job here is getting attacked by his friend, and this is where we have a great shift, and obviously like where a lot of us probably find a lot of comfort. And you might not know that it comes from the book of Job, but this is where we get the famous verse where it says, "My Redeemer lives," right? Which is, how many times like have we used that in hymns and in songs and in liturgy and even in the New Testament, right? Or there's this drawing of parallels between Christians where we draw the resurrection of Christ, right? But we also have "My Redeemer lives," and when we have hymns like "Because he lives, I can face tomorrow," stuff like that, right? And so it's a really powerful verse, but like, what is it getting at, right? Because usually we think, well, that's we think of Jesus probably, but what is he talking about? Well, in this passage, Job is being descriptive of firstly, he attacks Bildad for what he was saying, and then he moves on to the idea here that you guys are saying that there's something's wrong, but that I did something wrong, but I didn't, and I believe that justice is coming, and I know this because my Redeemer lives. Essentially, what Job is saying. Obviously, that's not a direct quote. That's a paraphrase of what's in this book. But what does that mean, right? Well, the word for Redeemer there is the same word that we see in Ruth, where we have that term that depends on how your Bible translates it, but it could be like kinsman redeemer is how a lot of things do it, but relative redeemer, things like that. But someone close to you that's able to step in and help you. And that's what Job is seeing in God, right? He believes that he's being punished unjustly, or that something is happening to him and it's unjust, and that the only person that can make it right is God. And so when Job says, "My Redeemer lives," what he's saying is that I still believe or still have hope of redemption or of justice, right? Because if God isn't there, then there is no hope. So that's what Job is saying. And then he ends by having this kind of talk about a sword, right? And he tells his friends that they're going to be on the receiving end of it. And this is again kind of hitting at what we saw Job talk a little bit about last week, when he talks about how he believes his friends are bearing false witness against him. And because they're bearing false witness against him, they deserve death. They deserve punishment, right? And this isn't Job being vindictive in the sense. It's more of him trying to scare his friends straight. One of those types of things where he's like, if you guys don't start figuring this out, you're going to find yourselves on the wrong end of God's sword. So we're going to have Job's final friend, Zophar, talk again last week, the third of the three. So we'll see what he has to say. But I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, and peace out.